Happy holidays. Merry Christmas, everybody. You're festive. We hope you're festive and ready for a good holiday weekend. This is the Southside Beat, as we are every Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern sharp here on DK Pittsburgh Sports. Friday, December 22nd is the date. 1 day before Festivus, 2 days before Christmas Eve, 3 days before Christmas, of course. Chris Halicke, Corey Crisan with you in our best ugly sweaters. Chris, is that Is that Captain America? There you go.
It is a Captain America ugly Christmas sweater.
There you go. Mine is
my favorite.
Mine's Crash Bandicoot, and it says "All I Wumpa Christmas is you," like
nice.
Wumpa fruit. So it's I'm not gonna go too far down with the camera, but there's like the old school Crash Bandicoot face for you. So
that's a good one. I just. What's funny, Teresa says she loves the hat. Funny story. It's actually my wife's Christmas or Santa hat.
Nice.
I can't find mine. I don't know where mine is. It's somewhere in the shuffle here. That is a household with 2 young children.
Yeah.
But it's somewhere. I'll find it before Christmas. But for today's show, I needed something to wear, and my wife's Santa hat will do.
There you go. Yeah, Darren. I texted Chris this morning. I said ugly sweaters today, and he said, "All right." And I said,
"Sure,
heck yeah." Today's the day to do it of all the days.
I mean, this is the last show before Christmas, so yep. I mean, let's enjoy it. We're gonna do live cues today.
Yeah.
Live cues, just live questions, whatever your questions are, comments are. Let's try to have some fun because we've been doing a lot of
complaining.
Yeah, it's been a lot. It's been a lot of negativity. A lot of negativity. Now, granted, like, you know, this football team's given us a lot of reason to be negative because they're playing terrible football right now. But you know, let's try to enjoy it. Let's try to have some fun, spread some Christmas cheer, spread some joy. Let's do that.
There was an ant that just crawled across my desk. An ant. How did it get up here? I got it. How did it get up here? Number one. Number two, I thought it was too cold for ants, but we took care of that.
Cool, friend. I have ants here 24/7 through 65.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Questions all day today for about 20 minutes or so. I shouldn't say all day then. And then the last 10 minutes, we'll give picks for the Bengals game. We'll take care of those at about 20 after here on the Southside Beat today. So let's go to Jim, who asked, "Did you see Bill Cowher talking on Pat McAfee's show? Love to hear what he had to say about coaching." I did not hear the interview. I don't watch that show, but I read, his comments afterwards.
Yeah.
And yeah, of course, Bill Cowher is going to have an opinion of what's going on here with the Steelers. And, I think that I'm not going to say what he is saying is jaded in any way, because again, he's been in a different position, certainly, than I have been in my career. But I think what Bill Cowher has to say matters to a certain volume. And if he had strong feelings about what's going on with the Steelers and he felt the need to say them on a show that wasn't NFL on CBS, where he usually speaks, then that probably means something.
Yeah, I mean, I think I didn't watch the entire interview. I saw a couple of the comments. Listen, like, I honestly think he went about it in a really, really honest yet respectful way. He could have gone about it in a very, very, he could have been Ryan Clark or anybody else and just attacking and throwing. And I'm not, trying to criticize Ryan Clark or anything like that. Anybody who's, been in that locker room, been employed by that football team, I think they have a right to an opinion for sure. But I do think Bill Cowher went about it the right way. He obviously had that position before Mike Tomlin. He had his good moments and he had his bad moments. Remember, 3 straight losing seasons with Bill Cowher.
Yeah.
4 total, I think. I think it was 98 through 2000 and then 03, obviously. Those are the only ones I can think of in terms of losing seasons. But, he had his low moments and he also had his really good moments. He was a good football coach, and he deserves his place in the Hall of Fame. He deserves to have an opinion for sure. And I think he went about it in the right way. I think it just goes to show the kind of class that Bill Cowher is.
Mm-hmm. I would agree with that. George asks, "Happy holidays." Well, happy holidays to you. What is the future for the Steelers, and how can we make it better? Well, we can't do anything about it, but what they can do is go into this offseason with, I think, what needs to be a fresh approach at this.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say fresh approach, I mean they need to put everything on the table. And that includes the head coach, obviously the offensive coordinator, the defensive coordinator, the quarterback, the coaching staff. All of it needs to be on the table. The roster, the rest of the roster, sans quarterback, all of it needs to be looked at and say, is this a position where we can improve? And if that answer is yes, and a spoiler, a lot of those positions are going to be yeses.
Yeah.
And if that is a position where they say, yes, we can improve, yes, we have the means to improve it, that's where they should go. And I know that's a very vague answer, and there's going to be a lot more discussion, obviously, about the offseason once we get there, potentially as early as January 8th. But there's no stone that should be left unturned in this offseason. There's nothing that you look at this roster and you say, well, that's settled, other than TJ Watt and maybe Cam Hayward and Alex Highsmith.
Yeah.
Nothing is safe right now. And yeah, the rookie class turns out to be a good one. And I think that there's going to be a little bit of turnover, at least within the roster, certainly. But I think it's not out of the realm of possibility that this coaching staff has some turnover as well. And that includes the possibility of one Mike Tomlin.
Yeah. Robert asks, who has the ugliest ugliest sweater, Corey or Chris?
I don't know.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, does there have to be a winner? My wife and I have this debate. My wife and I have this debate quite a bit. Like, do you have to choose a favorite of anything? Like, really? Like, what in the universe requires you to choose? Like, when people say, "Oh, my favorite Disney movie is X," or "My favorite," or just anything. And like, so many people are like, "I have to have a favorite." It's like, why do you have to have a favorite?
Yeah,
just everybody has their opinions. Everybody likes them, and everybody likes what they like. Everybody dislikes what they don't like. And I like yours. I like mine. I think that they're both ugly, which is the whole point of an ugly Christmas sweater. I preferably like mine because it was a Christmas present from my wife a few years ago. She got it for me because I saw it on Facebook and I thought it was freaking awesome. But I also loved playing Crash Bandicoot. So mine's
got like the little Wampa fruits on the sleeves and like on the bottom where the trim are. The thing I don't like about the sweater is the collar, the like bacon neck, melon ball collar. I don't like it that much, but I mean that kind of adds to the ugly factor of it.
It's also uncomfortable and hot.
This one's not that bad. This one's not that bad.
66 degrees outside right now, so it's
not that here. It's not that here. I can tell you that. I can tell you that much. Crash Bandicoot was one of my favorite series playing growing up.
Yeah.
That and Spyro the Dragon were my two favorites. Spyro was my all-time favorite video game. Love it. Who's the DB coach? Asked Mark. Grady Brown is your guy on that, and I think he could be safe in this whole idea of what coaches could go, what coaches could stay.
I think just if I can kind of give some insight on Grady Brown a little bit, because not only from obviously, Corey's on the beat this year, I was on the beat last year, but, getting to go to the Senior Bowl and watch him coach or like coordinate a defense at the Senior Bowl, hear him speak through that lens. And then I ran into him again at the Combine, had some, good conversation with him. He is a guy who, like, you have just a short little conversation with him. You get why he is a coach that could be looked at as like a commodity elsewhere in a few years.
Sure.
Does he have room to improve? Absolutely, he has room to improve. Every coach does. But I think he's a good coach. I think he's a good coach. I don't think he's like an all-star or anything like that, but I think there's a reason why he was chosen to be a defensive coordinator for the Senior Bowl last year. And I think, like I said, of all the guys who are on staff, I think he's pretty safe.
Yeah. Let's go to, again, we're taking questions, live questions for the next 10 minutes or so. So if you have a question about the Steelers or about Christmas or anything, shoot us a question. We'll answer it here live. And we do these sometimes on Fridays. I think today was a pretty good day to do it going into the holiday, the game tomorrow. A lot more talk of anything but the game this week, I feel. And I think some of it for good reason and some of it for, well, we had to do this. We had to get it out of the way.
We had to bring the temperature down because the George Pickens thing brought that to a boiling point.
Mike in Texas asks, is it obvious during the week in practice for you to know if someone is elevated on the depth chart? I know for QB it would be, but what about, say, RB? I think it depends on the week, number one. And, like, for example, we can't report directly who's getting what snaps unless that player directly says, I'm getting snaps here, which is why I can say on this show that Eric Rowe took first-team snaps at safety this week, because he told me I took first-team snaps at safety this week. So there's rules that we have to abide by as reporters when we're inside that building. But that being said, we can watch practice and give us ideas to ask players like, hey, obviously no Kenny this week.
Yeah.
But, Kenny was taking reps behind Mason, and that was shown in open practice windows that we had as reporters, with filming. And then that's also confirmed by the fact that Mason's starting, and Mike Tomlin said as much. So there's certain things we can or can't do. Now, we can watch practice and say, oh, that's interesting that Eric Rowe's taken first-team snaps at safety instead of either Trent Thompson, who is, out this week, or instead of Jalen Elliott, who is on the practice squad and has been here for a little bit. You can look at that and say, oh, that's interesting, and then go into the locker room, and if you find Eric Rowe, go, hey, man, what kind of reps have you been taking? And he can say it. So it depends on that kind of stuff. So, yes, it is actually obvious, but it's not something that we can outwardly report without a player putting it on record that they are doing that.
All right. We got some news here. Some breaking news.
Right,
let me
tee it up.
Hold on. I accidentally X'd out of it. Did not mean to do that. All right. The Steelers have activated Elijah Riley from IR.
Not surprising.
Nope. They have signed Kyron Johnson to the active roster.
Okay.
And elevated Miles Jack and Eric Rowe from the practice squad to the active roster.
Okay.
The active/inactive roster. So they've elevated them from the practice squad. So
okay, so look at some two dogs, one bone situation, as Terrell Austin said the other day, for Miles Jack, Blake Martinez. They need a solution up the middle. They need a solution up the middle with inside linebacker and safety depth at an all-time low, arguably. And Elijah Riley, it's been pretty much known that he was going to play this week. And whether he starts or not is yet to be seen. Now, Eric Rowe is going to be one of those starting safeties. And I think there was a question here, actually, from I Am Happy. Who's our starting safeties tomorrow? I would expect it to be Eric Rowe, and then potentially a lot of snaps like we saw in the Colts game for Patrick Peterson. I think those two guys make the most sense at this stage, given Minka's out, Neal's out, KZ suspended, Thompson's out, Elijah Riley's just coming off of IR. So there's a lot of those guys that are shuffling around, and I think it's well within the realm of possibility that it's Eric Rowe and Patrick Peterson. But then you get to see Levi Wallace and Joey Porter start at corner, and then you see more snaps for James Pierre. And maybe you could see some snaps from Riley in the slot or in the 3 safety look or at corner. I think that's very possible to see all of that. I don't think anything should be off the table with the back end tomorrow.
Yeah. Let's see. Monongahela Mike asks, what happened to Ant Mac? He was cut.
Released.
They needed a roster spot to activate Elijah Riley, and that was the casualty. Now, it wouldn't surprise me at all if they brought him back onto the practice squad, but for the time being, man, like, he had lost the kick return job to Igwebuike, and so it doesn't get any more simple than that, really. It's just they need a roster spot. Of course, you risk losing him when you cut him, but I mean, who else are you going to cut?
Right.
Realistically.
Brent says, if Mason shows something, do we dump Mitch, you think? I don't think they dump Mitch Trubisky, regardless if Mason shows something or not. At this point,
I need to make sure Kenny's healthy.
Right. And at this point, I think it's clear they're intent on keeping 3 quarterbacks no matter what.
Yeah.
With taking advantage of the emergency QB situation on Sundays, that affords an extra roster spot. That affords, hey, you can roster 3 quarterbacks and one of them has to be made inactive. I think that's something they want to take advantage of, because otherwise, why would they have held on to Mason Rudolph and re-signed him with the money they did? I mean, Like he's not making a ton of money, but also they didn't have to re-sign Mason Rudolph when they were giving Mitch Trubisky the amount of money they were giving him, and then with Kenny being the surefire starter. So
Yeah.
I think they keep Mitch around at least for the last few games of the season. Now, what happens in the offseason, as a potential cap casualty, being a guy that has a pretty good amount of money headed his way with an extension that he just signed, I don't think that's I don't think that's out of the realm of any possibility that, over the offseason we can see a change there.
Brent asks, hearing the stats earlier today from Highsmith, do you think Herbig could possibly take that position over the next year and trade him? I like Herbert's motor. I really don't think so. I don't think they're thinking about that right now. They're thinking about, I mean, they just signed Highsmith to an extension. I don't think that's, I think Herbig was an example to me of you take a best player available type situation, which is how the Steelers should draft. I mean, they obviously didn't have a big need at edge rusher. They needed to provide, get some depth there for sure. But I mean, you have your two surefire starters in TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith, and you draft a guy like Nick Herbig to see what happens. Who knows if TJ goes down with a lengthy injury or Highsmith goes down with a lengthy injury, and all of a sudden you need somebody to step up. And if Herbig steps up, then great. You'd rather have too many guys that are really good at one position than not have like you're in a situation with linebacker or safety right now where you get so decimated by injuries that you're down to nothing. I don't think Herbig's performance necessarily dictates what they do with Highsmith, And I think they said that whenever they signed him to an extension.
Darren 5 gifted. We appreciate that. Thank you. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays.
Take the free gifts.
Yeah, if you got a gifted from Darren. If you got a gifted from Darren, make sure you pick that up and drop a thank you in the chat. Teresa asks, what about the GM? I think Colbert spent too many drafts in the win now mode to appease Ben and drafted needs/toys instead of BPA, best player available. I think Omar Khan's pretty safe. I think his draft was good. Yes, I think his draft was good. Contrary to maybe they don't throw to Darnell Washington enough, for example, or Herbig doesn't get enough snaps, for example. I think they had a good draft still. And I think they're going to see that. And I think Khan made some good free agent signings. Like if Cole Holcomb and Quan Alexander don't get hurt for the rest of the season, it's arguable that this, inside linebacker room is going to be a little bit different. Obviously, KZ was re-signed. They went out and addressed cornerback in the draft. They addressed tackle in the draft. I think Khan's pretty safe. I think he's fine in that position. Jonathan asked, what's your favorite Christmas movie? Mine's Christmas Vacation, easily. Easily. Chevy Chase, legend. Absolutely legendary Christmas movie.
Mine for the longest time was the original Santa Claus with Tim Allen. And I think that's still up there just in terms of nostalgia, but over the years, and especially in the last 7 or 8 years, Elf has become my favorite. I've loved Elf for a long time, pretty much ever since it came out. But the more and more I watch it, the more and more I love it. And it's a perfect blend between comedy to, especially since I have kids, to family appropriate, to nostalgic, to just a little bit of everything that I like to feel for whenever I sit down and watch a Christmas movie. So Elf is up there. Santa Claus is up there. Christmas Vacation's great. There's a lot of really good Christmas movies out there. I like the ones on Netflix, the Christmas Chronicles. My kids love those. I like the first one more than the second one. I think Kurt Russell was a really interesting and different Santa Claus. If you haven't seen those, I do recommend at least the first one for sure. But Elf is my absolute favorite right now.
Yeah, Christmas Vacation's always and forever mine. Too many quotables. Chevy Chase is amazing. It took me a long time to figure out that Johnny Galecki, Roseanne's son and TV's son at least, and Leonard from The Big Bang Theory is Russ. It took me forever to figure that out, but I think that's a cool little thing for the present day. And when I hear Mele Kalikimaka, I think of the scene where Chevy Chase is staring out the window into the pool, and the model from the lingerie stand at the mall is standing there by the pool and everything, and then his niece comes up on him. I think that scene is that movie itself is hilarious, but that scene, every time I hear that song, I think of that scene. Ken asks, is Rudolph the forgotten quarterback starting against the Bengals? Yes, he is. It'll be Mason Rudolph under center. Kenny Pickett is out. He's not playing, so I would expect him to be inactive. And then Mitch Trubisky will be the backup. And that leads me into a question from Jim. Do you think Kenny's tracking to play next week? I do think that's the case. I don't think he would have been limited all week if they didn't think that he could at least have a chance to play tomorrow. Now, what that's going to mean for next week is what I would think happens off the top of my head is that he's going to practice in some kind of limited capacity, potentially Wednesday, and then get back to full Thursday or Friday, if not both days. It would have to be a full practice next Friday for him to have a chance to play against Seattle, I think. So given that he practiced on a limited basis 3 times this week, I think that's a good sign going into next week.
Good comment there from Ken. Then one snowy Christmas Eve, Tomlin came to say, Rudolph, with your passes right, won't you guide my team tonight? That's a good lyric right there.
There you go. Very, very Christmas reference, Home Alone. There's an answer from Frank there. Home Alone is a favorite Christmas movie. That's a good one. Is Die Hard a Christmas movie?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely is. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Some people say that it's not.
There are like I consider
those people are wrong, by the way.
Okay, by the way, another all-time favorite Christmas movie, and I consider this to be one of those. To me, Die Hard is like, it can be either one. It can be a non-Christmas. It's a movie you can watch all year round, but it's also a Christmas movie.
Right.
Just Friends is another one for me with Ryan Reynolds and Amy Smart. Like, it's not necessarily a Christmas movie, but it's a Christmas movie. It takes place during Christmas. There's a lot of Christmas elements in it. It's a Christmas movie to me, and I love it. That's also up there. I freaking love a lot of things with Ryan Reynolds, but that one's freaking hilarious.
Well, Bruce Reynolds is wrong, Ryan. That's a Christmas movie. That is a Christmas movie. Ken asked, do the Steelers have 4 quarterbacks on the roster? They have 3 on the active roster, being Mitch Trubisky, Mason Rudolph, and Kenny Pickett, and they have 1 on the practice squad. That is Trace McSorley. He's on the practice squad, not on the active 53.
Penn State alum.
Yep. Gino asked about a Pitt alum, Terrell Austin. Where did Terrell Austin go? He's still the DC.
Yeah.
He's still the defensive coordinator. He's not going. He hasn't gone anywhere yet. Who knows if he's going to go anywhere to begin with. Jason, he might live in the Midwest because he spelled Meyer like the grocery store. He says, hey, guys, could you see us getting rid of Pat Meyer, the offensive line coach?
Anybody on the offensive side of the ball is safe, honestly.
Right. That was going to be my answer too. I think any position coach on the offensive side needs to be looked at. I think it's well within the realm of possibility that Pat Meyer could be let go of, and that's the start of it. To say with the rest of the position coaches, nothing can really be sure as of this point. 2 more, and then we'll get to one more.
Mike Rosenthal has another good one. Jingle All the Way, underrated classic. Anything with Arnold.
There you go. Think Kenny will get hurt standing on the sidelines? Asked Mark. No, and I think he might actually be in the booth. He's been in the booth while he's been hurt.
If a pass comes over, they might have to go, get down.
Nakatomi Plaza.
Sorry, I got to keep doing my Arnold. You got me started my Arnold.
Yeah, there you go. All right, let us go make predictions. Put them in the chat. We'll put them on the screen. Live in living color. Steelers, Bengals, Saturday. Chris, do you want to go first for a prediction?
No. Yeah, I'll go. Listen. All right. There is the Bengals are by the way, the Bengals are I mean, they're not 8-6 by accident. They have also had to face a lot of adversity. They lost Joe Burrow, DJ Reader's out, one of their leading interception guy is out. They're a legit football team, man, and they're doing it with Jake Browning at quarterback. This defense is still vulnerable. The Bengals defense is still vulnerable. They've been a bit better against the run. They held the Colts to only 46 yards on the ground. Held the Jaguars to 71 yards on the ground. But this is still a defense that there are yards to be had against that defense. That being said, I do not trust the Steelers defense to keep the Bengals at bay, along with I don't trust the Steelers offense to score enough. The defense is too banged up in the middle of the field. And the offense has given me no reason to trust them. and I don't think a change to Mason Rudolph is going to be enough to fix that. I do think the Steelers have the potential to score some points in this game, just because of the reasons I mentioned. But I don't trust this offense enough to be like, yeah, they can go win me a football game. So I'm going to say the Bengals win 27-16.
Okay. I'm along the same wavelength of you in the realm of I don't trust the Steelers to score more than the Bengals. Like it sounds so conventional and easy. It's like, duh, that's how you win and that's how you play football.
You got to score more points than the other team. If you do that, you're going to win.
But I don't think the Steelers have the capability to do that right now. Yeah. Like even with Cincinnati not having Jamar Chase and Jake Browning playing quarterback, I still think, and this is an indictment on the system. This is an indictment on the offense that they run. This isn't necessarily about Najee Harris or Jaylen Warren or Pat Freiermuth or Deontay Johnson or George Pickens. This is about the system they run because it's so simplified and it's so easy to diagnose. And I think for any defense that has looked at the Steelers over the last 3 games, you can see that these concepts are not, they're not flashy. They're not hard to figure out. And that's what the case has been all season long for this offense. So with that said, I think like a Cincinnati 27-10. I think it's going to be more than a 2-score. I think it could be a 2-score game very easily, if not somewhere in the realm of 10 to 14 points. Like a 27-10 or a 27-7 or a 27-14. That's what I see this being. And like 16 is reasonable for first half yards. Yeah, Bob. I mean, but that's the feel of this team. That's what this team is giving off right now. And it's hard to trust it. I mean, I've said this for weeks now without repeating myself. This team, you can't trust them. You can't trust them to go out and score. You can't trust them to go out and stop. And now they're down to Michael Walker, Blake Martinez. They're elevating Miles Jack. At safety, they're going to have to play Eric Rowe and potentially Miles Killebrew and Pat Peterson and Elijah Riley. I mean, that's what the defense is down to. Yeah. So when you have those many guys out and the big holes up the middle, hard to stop a team, any team.
Even without Jamar Chase, they still got T. Higgins, which, by the way, if you did not watch the Bengals-Vikings game last week, T. Higgins can still tear up defense. I mean, shoot, the game in Pittsburgh last year, T. Higgins, I don't think Jamar Chase played in that game.
I had him on my bench in fantasy football, much to my chagrin. I thought playing Zay Flowers over him would be a better idea, which it has been. Yeah, it has been throughout parts of the year, but I am not in the postseason anymore in that league. But anyway,
Mark asks, was the offense this simplistic under Ben in Canada? Well, I mean, it was Canada's system, so yes. Obviously, Canada tweaked his system to fit Ben's quarterbacking, but then the big variable there is Ben was Ben. He was a 17-year vet at the time. He has the autonomy, whether the team gives it to him or not, to change things at the line and to play backyard football. And if things aren't going very well according to the game plan, to just be like, I'm going to do things my way because I think I know, like I've been playing this long enough to know what I need to do in order to win. And Kenny and Mitch and everybody else does not have that same autonomy. So,
yeah. Matt says,
yes, but no.
Matt says, who do you think a good offensive coordinator will be for the Steelers next year? Matt, I would love to answer that question, but 2 things. Number 1, we don't know at this stage who's going to be available for that. And number 2, that's a topic for the offseason. That's it. That's simply just a topic for January. We gotta get through 3 more games here first, and then we will talk about the candidates.
The NFL season's too long, man. I mean,
long.
I get it. Like for the longest time it was 16 games and they only added on 1 more game. But man, okay, let's do simple math here. What is 1 divided by 7 or 1 divided by 17 to get the percentage there? 1 divided by 17. That's almost 6%. That you add on 1 game in a Major League Baseball season or a NBA or NHL season. That's not that big of a deal. You add on 1 game in an NFL season. That's a pretty big deal. Yeah. Like going from 16 to 17 is quite a bit. It's too long. 16 was long enough. It was a perfect number. They didn't need to change anything.
And it was an even number too, by the way.
Yes, like I don't like the odd numbered
Yeah,
season. Like I'm trying to think. Like, is there any other professional sports league prominent? I can't know. There's one.
No, they're all even.
MLB, NHL and NBA are both 82. Premier League is 38.
They're all even.
Yeah.
Yep. Evan asks if it goes that way, will there be some Fire Tomlin chance? I think there could be. Can't rule anything out with this kind of crowd. And Brent asks, who does Joey Porter Jr. shadow? I think it'll be T. Higgins.
Yeah.
I think Tyler Boyd will be left for whoever else. And I agree.
T. Higgins is the more dangerous of the two. That's nothing against Tyler Boyd. Tyler Boyd's a really, really good receiver, but T. Higgins is Jamar Chase when Jamar Chase isn't there.
Right. All right. Enjoy the game. Enjoy your holiday. Chris and I will be back Tuesday, December 26th for the Southside Beat. We're taking Christmas Day off.
Woo!
There's a game tomorrow, Sunday, Christmas Eve. Obviously, Christmas Day on Monday, and a Merry Christmas to you as well, Darren.
Yeah.
And thank you for a great year as well. And thank you all for a great year as well. We greatly appreciate all of you. We hope you have a happy and safe holiday with you and your loved ones. Enjoy the weekend. Enjoy the celebration. Enjoy whatever you enjoy, whatever that needs to be. And we appreciate all of you and wish you all and yours a very happy holiday. He's Chris Halicke. I'm Corey Crisan. DK and Ramon in 30 minutes for the Ramon Foster Show. Keep it locked in. We will talk to you on Tuesday, a Football Tuesday. Will it be a Victory Tuesday or will it be a this season is over hyphenation on Tuesday? We'll find out tomorrow. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays, everybody. Cheers.
Merry Christmas.